Make sure to download the Module 8 zip file and unzip it. And take a moment to open your bedroom file. It was due already, but the end date's coming up, so you still have some time to add stuff to it if necessary. And take a look at it. Do you have included images of the existing room to compare with the model? Did you upload those as well as the SketchUp model? Did you match the existing color of the room? Did you use the components of the 3D warehouse and that dynamic window model from the last session folder? And then make sure all your windows and or doors have frames and casing. Did you recolor and resize furniture as necessary? And make tags similar to the hotel one so that we can look inside or to the side or with furniture or without furniture. Did you make images of your bedroom posters or photos in the model? Additional things that's important is the bedroom model close to the origin or at the origin, ideally. If it's not there, so make sure all the tags are visible, select the whole model, and then use the move command and move it to the origin. Does your model have a baseboard, and does Windows have casing? And make sure you have all the holes in the walls for windows and doors. Do you have all the different components and as components and with appropriate tags? Is your furniture floating or buried? I know sometimes when people bring things into the 3D warehouse and they put in the model, sometimes they're not quite where they expect it to be. So it's always good to zoom up and make sure you've got them sitting on the ground. It will show up strange when you create a rendering and all of a sudden the shadows don't look quite right because they're like it's floating. And have you deleted all the guidelines and any stray lines you may have created and that person. We don't need the person in the models all the time. And of course, did you purge? Window model info, statistics, purged unused. If it's good to do it regularly. And one other thing to consider is to check your front faces. Switch to monochrome mode and see if any back faces are visible. And if so, click on that surface, right click, reverse faces. That's the best way to do it. If they are not correct, they might look correct in the model, but when you render it, there's going to be some weird things going on. And that's just happening because it's taking that back face instead of the front face. After you take a look and made a good critical look at your model, adjust it and then upload it to that Module 7 Dropbox before that available end date that's there. I'd like to take a look also at our plagiarism PDF. We saw that back in session 5 when we started looking at components. We're going to take a look at it and review it together again and kind of give you some examples of what we're discussing here. One of the things is not to copy the entire model. And you can see that this is a model of a 3D warehouse. And this was a project a student submitted as part of their assignment. You can't go and purchase something full blast that matches the design intent that one person individually created right away from the get-go. You get bits and pieces and put them together, and you curate the elements and then you put them in your model. You don't want to turn in a project that is, quote, your design intent when it's really someone else's vision. Even little parts and pieces. So for example, this room is not really the same design as this 100%, right? There were some changes made to the room. Yeah, okay, a lamp was switched out. Maybe a little bit of this or that piece of furniture was adjusted. Maybe it's the different coloring on the walls. But in the end, it really is kind of using the same pieces. Same kind of idea. It's basically copied. Even if you use an entire piece of furniture, so for example, this piece of furniture, complete with the books on the bookshelf, was copied over. Again, not what you want. You really want to take and find bits and pieces of things and put them together. Make it your own unique design. And even go so far as if you have a nice design that you find online, can you put it in your model? And the answer would be no. So here they've found these two chairs and this nice little table in the middle, and they put it into here. No. Again, it's the same notion. Come first with the thought of what you want. Find the piece of furniture, the color or the fabric, whatever. Get those model numbers. Put it into your FFE, your furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and then go to the 3D warehouse and find the pieces. And again, some of them might be at the manufacturer. Can you download a whole kitchen? And the answer is no. You can download a whole kitchen, let's say, if you kind of take it all apart. So take everything apart and just get this individual pieces, all the base cabinets versus the upper cabinets and things like that. You can actually even create yourself a library of cabinets for future kitchens. This isn't what happened here. This example shows that a lot of the elements were copied all together. This whole thing right here is practically the same as what's going on there. The way this island and this table work together is almost identical. As a matter of fact, the turn of the table legs is identical. So, it begs the question, then if a person can go online on a 3D warehouse and find something exactly right, then why are they going to hire an interior designer? And so that's the final thing to say, could you put this together with one click of a button? Again, if you just do the order right, get the design intent, find the piece first, get the model number, the fabrics that are available and so forth, and then put them in your model by going online, or if necessary, creating the model yourself. By doing the FFE first, are forcing yourself to think about the furniture that would work best in the space for your design intent. You are the designer, so design the right way. Another good plus to start with the FFE is because some pieces of furniture only come with a limited palette for both the frame and the seat. So when you look for this model online through the 3D warehouse or the manufacturer, you want to make sure that the model has the correct colors. That by finding the piece first, you know your palette, your limit of your palette. Occasionally, we do find things in the 3D warehouse that will work for us. You have an idea for a sofa in your project, and you can't seem to find it online anywhere, but all of a sudden you come across this chase lounge, and you're like, oh, this chase lounge is kind of the look I'm looking for, and so I'll just use this as a starting point to save some of the work involved in creating a model from scratch. So go ahead and open up the Chase Lounge from our module folder. And what we'll do first of all is go to File, Save As. And I'm going to put it in our SketchUp folder Assignments, Module 8. And I'm going to call it Sofa. And then my initials, because we're going to modify this into a sofa. We'll be using something called Outliner. Go to Window, Default Tray, and just make sure Outliner is checked. It'll show up over here, and it'll look something like this. We can expand Outliner, and it shows us all the components and the groups that are in the model. Components have names to them, and they look like these little boxes. Groups are just single boxes here. If we expand them, click on the triangle here, we can see that inside the group is a group. Inside the group is an arm and 3 other groups. So you can see a little bit here why making groups for me is not a good idea. I'm not sure what I'm looking at when I look at an outliner. If I click on the word arm, all of a sudden, oh, I see it's this arm. When I click on this arm here, it says, oh, it's this arm. So I've got a notion of what I'm looking at, but all these other ones are sort of a mystery. If I click on this group here, all of a sudden I see, oh, the group here is this Chase Lounge group, which inside it has an arm component. And you can see as I click the different names here, it's highlighting the different pieces, which is a good way to selecting as well. What would this group be? Oh, it's a pillow. Well, let's say I want to maybe clean up some of these groups and make them understandable what they are. I can right click here and select rename, and then I can rename it pillow. And so now I know in the groups, oh, that's a pillow. It's still a group. It's not a component, but it's at least a pillow. I could have right-clicked, and I could have made that group into a component and would have acted like other components. In this case, it's not going to be so critical. We're only going to have one of these pillows in this model anyway. So we can always turn groups into components if necessary. This is a group of the Chase seat here. So maybe we can just kind of right-click, rename Chase seat. This here is the backrest. Rename Chase back. So I could each one of these, I could take care of each one of them and rename them. What would this group be then? Well, this is the whole Chase group right here. So I can just rename that Chase base. It takes care of all those pieces here, so I can now see what I'm looking at. Over on this end, I'm gonna just call it, this is just the base here. I'm just gonna call it here, base. And this is the back. And this, I'll just call it base back. Now that we have them correctly named so we can see what we're working with, I can maybe make entire groups not visible. So for example, if I take out this chase base group, it's all gone. The whole thing, everything that was inside it. It's still there, but it's not visible. So it's like a little bit of tags. It's a little bit like hidden. You can do one element at a time. So it's a good way to kind of select, and if it's helpful to not see something for a while to get into a certain part of the model, it's really convenient to use Outliner. I noticed that this pillow is in here. If you remember our sofa, we want a pillow on the sofa. So we want to keep the pillow, but pretty much the rest of the chase components could be removed. The pillow's inside the chase group. We need to get it out. Well, one thing we could do easily is just if I click on the pillow and drag it until it says sofa, the name of the file itself, and let go. Notice that pillow now has become its own category. If I make the chase go away, the pillow is out of it. It's now part of the overall model, not inside this group. It's its own separate category. So now looking at this, I can go ahead and select the chase base right here and erase. It's already taken care of. The whole piece is gone and it's ready for us to work with the model. The other possibility would be to have actually select it, right click and erase, or select it with the eraser tool, things like that. But here I can just go to Outliner and select the pieces I need to. Let's also go ahead and change this base from being just a group to being a component. So if I select it, right click, make component, I now have this option. I'm going to go ahead and keep it called base. That's what we want it to be. And make sure it's replaced and click create. So now that element is going to be its own piece, which is what we want. We could also go and change the base back and the pillow to components. But for right now, you have the idea and we can move forward. It's always tricky to decide whether or not to have a group or component. And I tend to favor having components always. So I'm going to select the arm, the base, and the back, and make a copy of it. Right? We're going to have basically a 3-pillow seating of sofa, and I could select each thing individually, or I can click over here. The arm, hold the control key, the back, the seat. So I selected the individual elements by clicking on Outliner. And for move, tap the control key, click and go across in the red, click. So now I've got the other side of the sofa. And while it's still selected, I'm going to use the flip tool here, click, and we have the planes we want to flip along here. So do we want it to flip in the red, the green, or the blue? Well, we're going to flip along the red. In other words, this arm should be on that side. So if I click on the red, click, all of a sudden the piece is flipped around, ready to be put in place. Another way to do this is to use the scale tool. So if you have it selected, S for scale, and you have the grips, and you can do the grip, move it over, type in -1, and it reverses that way. So you just take the middle grip, -1, reverses. So undo, undo. This is correct. I don't have to use the scale tool here, but that is another way of doing the same thing. Now, I want to get this close to here, and you can see kind of there's a telltale that something's going on is because we're getting these kind of curved surfaces. So that's kind of a telltale that there's probably some softening going on here. So let's go to View, Hidden Geometry. So now we're seeing all the different lines making up the model. Select everything if needed. M for Move. I'm going to zoom up real tight. I'm going to click here, click. And then I'm going to go over here and click in the same spot over here on this side of this pillow. Click. So now I have, you can see where I'm heading with this sofa. It's getting along pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to select this seat, M for move, tap the control key, click right here. We're going to go right to the same spot on the other side, click. And now we've got the beginnings of those three-seater. Looks great. What I'm going to do next is I need to basically stretch this shape here and get it to go across the whole piece. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to want to get in the component. Let me show you what I mean. If I do the stretch command only and go from middle over, look what happens to that pattern. Right? It gets stretched out as well as the piece. If I go inside the component, however, I can P for push-pull, and notice the pattern does not get stretched out. Do the same thing for the bottom. And then for the back, I'll have to get into this component. And if I push-pull it, you can see it's going to push-pull weirdly because the edges are softened. What we want to do, though, is instead of push-pull, well, first of all, if it's view hinge geometry not there, I can't even push-pull it because it becomes a whole thing. So you do want to do hinge geometry, but instead of doing push-pull, select it using a window, not a crossing because that gets too much. You want a window. Windows from left to right. M for move. Now tap this right here, click. You can see what's happening. It's grabbing all those soft edges, and then you can zoom up here really tight and click. Yeah, zoom up tight. Make sure you're, all right, I wasn't quite there yet. Click, and then click. There we go. Then we can do view hinge geometry to get off. I guess the last thing to finish this is to just move this pillow, M for move, and put it over here. And sometimes I like to bury it just a little bit on the edge here. So it kind of looks like it's kind of, you know, kind of into the side of the sofa a little bit. So now this looks great. Let's go ahead and save it. File. I just hit save because I've already renamed it sofa, right? So now we got our pieces here. They're all components. But if I'm looking at this, there's two arms, two backs, or three backs here. We've got some bases going on. I mean, we got a lot of different words here. And so one thing you can do to make things even more understandable using Outliner is to give it an instance. For example, if I click here under arm, I can see it's this one right here. I can go to Entity Info, and under Instance, I can call it left. So now, down here in Outliner, I see it's left arm. It's the arm component. It's the left instance. If I'm looking at this model, I know it's exactly that one when I select it. This one here, that's the arm as well. But if I go up here to the Entity Info, I can do right. So the instance is right, but the component's arm. As a matter of fact, it tells me there are two components in the model, which they are. It's the same component, just reversed. And now I can tell that the difference is because one will be called left arm, one's going to be called right arm. So the base is fine, but how about this? This is going to be back. This will be the left back. This is the mid back. This is the right back. Then do the same thing for the seat. What's good about this is that I know I've got three components, because it's the three components exactly the same, but I know that this is the right seat. And you can see that now I can select all these right pieces together because they're all grouped over here under right. The mid pieces are under mid, the left under mid, and the base goes across the whole back. Let's go ahead and save the file. File, save. Let's open up a new file. File, new. And let's import into this file our sofa. Let's go to File, Import. And there's our Module 8. Here's our assignment right here, sofa, import. Now when you bring it in, you should notice one thing. It's coming in like in the middle of the back. And that's because our model was placed on the origin originally, but since we've added the whole extra cushions and such, it's no longer in the corner the same as before. In this case, it's not as big a deal because it's a piece of furniture, but if the component you make has to be installed or connected to a certain specific point, make sure that's the point that is the origin in the component you're making. I can click anywhere here for right now, Q for rotate, and then just kind of put it whatever angle you like, and for move, get it going. And you can see once we brought it in here, look at this. Now we have our sofa as a separate entity, and we've got all the different pieces here. And we also have the component of TomTom, which is what this particular version has. So we've got all the pieces here, and you can just see how it goes together. If you really want the sofa to come in maybe on the midpoint or on one corner or the other, some models you may want that, then you would put the origin there. And that's why we constantly stressed in all the lectures to make sure you build from the origin or near the origin so that your model comes in where you want it to. Go ahead and save the file and upload the SketchUp file to Talon. Sometimes we're going to update parts of a model. In this case, we got a kind of plain kind of bed originally, which served its purpose from the start, but we can make it look a little bit more like our design intent. This is what we want it to look like. And so what we can do is we can use other models and parts of other models from the 3D warehouse. The basic model is okay, but these won't look like sheets. They're just lines on the surface. And so when it gets to be rendered, it'll just look like a blob, a shape. We want to make it look more realistic and match the design intent. So let's go ahead and open up the hotel model that we've been working on. And I'm going to start with there because we've already given it texture, right? We've given it material, surface, and so forth. And so we're just going to grab this model right here and start working with it. So when I'll select it, right click, and then we're going to have save out. And we're going to save out to device. So we can save out to Trimble Connect or the 3D warehouse, or we can save out to the device. And we're going to save this on our computer. What we'll do is we'll put it into our assignments folder, and we can leave it at King Bed 2. Now notice we did not select the pillow, the round pillow, so we just have to keep that in mind that we don't need to. The round pillow is good that we've got here on our model. Let's go File, Open. Go to our Modulate folder, King Bed 2, click on that, and go ahead and open that model. And then I'm going to go ahead and do Zoom Extents. And there's our model right there. It was probably zoomed up. So now let's go ahead and import into this model something from the 3D warehouse that might have a better sheet, pillow layout, and so forth. So click on here, and in the 3D warehouse, go ahead and let's type in king size bed, because we have a king size bed. While we look at this, we want to have a good model. So let's take a look at, instead of relevance, likes. When people like models, that means they're really well constructed, and so we'll get better looking ones to choose from. This one here, King Bed. This one here looks like our design intent. It's got that little blanket draped over the top. It's got those little corners peeking out. It even has a round pillow, although we don't need the round pillow, but otherwise it looks very similar to our design that we want to recreate. Let's go ahead and download this. Yes. I'm going to put it over here somewhere. So when I download from the 3D warehouse, I always want to check and see how that comes in. So I'm just kind of orbit it a little bit. I'm really critical about if they're floating, and sure enough, some things are floating here, right? You can see that these guys aren't quite touching the bed. Okay, I'm just going to be aware of that. I also noticed that the bed covering is just a modulated plane, so there's no thickness to it, and that's okay. Unless we're doing a video, even a rendering like this could fool the eye to saying it's complete. But it does have those nice little corners here. It has that little throw over here. So I think it's pretty good. So now we kind of agree that this is what we're going to keep working with. What are things we need to get rid of? Well, I don't really need a frame. This frame is what we're looking for. I think this is kind of the design intent. We don't need 3 sets of pillows. Only 2 would be enough, a sham and a pillow behind it. But the sham in the images we have are larger and cover the view of the pillow behind. Looking at the pictures, that someone forgot to put pillows behind the shams, but that's okay. We don't need the round pillow. All right, so we can start deleting things we don't need. So double click. Okay, so if I double clicked and I clicked again, I go back again 1 layer in, I can go ahead and click once, right click, and explode once. So that gives us just the bare model. So no, we had the model in a model coming in. So now this is just a model, double click inside, and now I have these pieces, right? Which is what I want. So I don't need the backboard. I don't need the base here or the base mattress, right? Our mattress is already colored and ready to go. Don't need these little pillows, are nested in another component. So double click, and I can just go delete that. And while I'm here, maybe I orbit this way, select this, S for scale, and I might make it just a little bit bigger in this direction and a little bit bigger in this direction, right? So it's kind of covering the pillow behind it. That looks about right. I don't need the round pillow. So, okay, I think we've got this pretty well. I'm going to keep it floating for now, but we're going to get it moved down eventually. I think I'm going to use this as it is for right now. Then over on this end, I can delete these pillows. We don't need them. I really don't care about the lines here, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to cover it with this thing. So this one's ready to go. And then what I'll do is I'm going to just, while I have the material here, I'm going to take some of this material and put it onto these fabrics. So B for paint bucket, tap the Alt key, click, and then I'm with the space button again. I just picked that up. I'm going to double click to get inside here and double click to get inside there. B for paint bucket tool. Since I already picked up the material, click. Oh, I have to go one more in even. There you go. So I go in twice to get into this level. For these, the same thing. I'm going to call it the same material. It looks like that it is the same material in the design intent. And there we go. So now we've got the material put on correctly. So these I replaced fully with the material. This one, not quite so much. This one needs to match the material for sure, but this one could be a separate material. It's going to be a different color even. So B for paint bucket, tap the Alt key, pick up the material. Here it is, that darker material. Click on the edit, and then I'm going to use select material in model. Click on that, and notice it changed it light. But look how it got these weird things. So remember, when we see that happening, just go to colorize. So it's all basic color. But it isn't the same lightness. In other words, this is the texture, the original texture that's there, just lightened up to match this coloring, and also made into that kind of yellow family. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the numbers here to be a little bit darker, maybe more gold-like. So 44 and 48 is good, but this, I'm going to bring it down to 39 or 40, something like that, 39. So I have a similar darkness as to the design intent. Okay, take a look, make sure there's nothing weird left over. No, looks good. So now I can select this grouping, because this entire grouping is one piece. It's easy to do. M for move. I'm going to move it in the red to like about here. Then I'm going to move it in the green to cover the back side there. Now, a couple things you'll notice. These pillars are still floating. So let me go ahead and grab down here. Click, hit the up arrow key, and then there. Try and touch that surface. And then we can go ahead and you can see how this has come down, and we're still overlapping over here, right? Not so much over here. So, I mean, we could move it over some more until this looks good. Like this end looks pretty good. But over here now, we see it over there. So we see that it comes out over here. So at this point, we use S for scale. And we'll click and drag this until I'm out there. So now both sides aren't being interrupted by the frame. Now I also notice there's supposed to be 3 pillows here, not 2. Tap M for move, tap the control key, and make a copy out here. Tap the space bar to activate the select tool, then select the first pillow, then hold down the control key and select the other 2 pillows. Let go of the control key. Press S for scale. Grab the middle and bring it over to here. And then I'd bring it down just a hair too. And that's starting to look a little bit more like our design intent. I would also grab these pillows, go into the component, and I'd move them in a ways too. Like that, so that they're not so far away from the back pillow. Check and see if things, yeah, that's going down. These are sort of sitting on the bed. Maybe I'll just move this one down just a bit. So you can see that we're constantly reevaluating what we're doing and whether it looks good or not, even as we work through the model. Rarely do we say one and done. We always kind of reevaluate it and say, does this make it look better or more realistic? I'm still kind of centering this up here. If I go to View, Component Edit, take off Hide Rest of Model, I can just see how this is sitting. All right, so let's go ahead and save this model now. I will probably give it a different name. So File, Save As. Oh, yeah, go ahead and say yes. It'll take off anything we're not using. We're going to call it King Bed 2, and then maybe -REB for revised. And that way, if we have to come back to the original model, we've got the original model. Let's go ahead and open up now the hotel file. We're back to here. So I can now bring this model in real easily. If I select it, and I can right-click, reload from device. And it says, hey, do you want to replace it? Yes. King Bed 2 revised. Open. And all of a sudden, there it is. The bed perfectly well in position. Because we used the same origin and everything, it came in exactly the same spot. One thing to double check though is, because it's a different depth, you can see our round pillow kind of got buried on it because this has a covering. Remember, it used to just be the bare blankets or bare sheets. So I'm going to select it, M for move, and I'll kind of go up a little bit. I still want it a little bumped in there, right? I mean, it's going to be somewhat into the fabric of that. It's not going to be floating up in space. Let's take a look at the legs, but I think the legs should be on the ground just fine. And yeah, I can see that they're touching just fine. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and save this file. So this could be done with a lot of times. Maybe you start with a certain model just to have something in there. Maybe you just have a simple placeholder shape, like you know the size of something, but you don't know what it looks like yet. And then you can replace that out relatively quickly in the same fashion we did this. The other way to have brought it in was using Outliner. So we could have selected the name in Outliner, which would have selected the piece, right click, and we would have called in reload as well. So it's the same wording. It's just whether you do it through Outliner or do it by right clicking on the component itself. One thing to be aware of is that although the bed is more realistic, it's also a larger model. Take a look at the difference between the original king bed size and the king bed revised. 240 kilobytes versus 3,500 plus kilobytes. So it's always a trade-off. The more detailed, the larger the model will be. And of course, then the larger the overall room would be when you render and so forth. So you always want to be using some judgment as how detailed you want things to be. Some things could be a lot more simple and it would work just as well. This is a good video from the 3D Basecamp. SketchUp has these summer seminars, and there's a video here on how to modify existing models and getting textures from online sources and using them. It's worth a watch to get some background information. It is from an interior designer and showing how she does the work with SketchUp. So, another assignment. This time I'd like you to take a photograph of yourself or of a loved one. You need to know the height of that person, and you want to make sure you get the whole body. I usually tell people to basically walk all the way to the other side of the room so you have less perspective. You don't want to be looking down. You don't want to be looking up. You want to look straight on to the person. You may even want to get down on your knees so that the field of view is more centered on the person. And you want to have even lighting if possible. You don't have strong shadows. So I would suggest an interior shot, not an exterior shot. Here's some examples. Well, this one here was a little too close. Yeah, I can tell that because look how the door frames are angled. And that's what happens when you get too close. You get this kind of strange thing. This person's head was way larger than the body. This is a better one, right? The frame is straight and it's kind of better. Same thing here. Notice how these feet are elongated. Look at the door frame, how it's kind of weirdly angled. Again, ideally it'd be better to just have a straight on view, stand as far away as possible from the person and take a picture. Here's another good one. And again, so here's a person that looks great, great outfit and all that, but look how their legs are laid out. This is way higher than this. And they need to be at kind of the same level. So if you have them kind of at different heights, that they have to be adjusted. So this is how this got adjusted, which is kind of a little funny looking, but it's better than what the other option is. Another example too is make sure that there's enough contrast behind the person. So in this case, this person's wearing dark clothes and the back of the door is dark, so I have no idea where the legs are. And so you want to make sure that you have nice contrast. Also, I ask people to take photographs indoors, and so a lot of times they'll send me photos with people in socks. And I give a big warning to everybody that I will put these white tennis shoes on their feet. So if you give me a person that's walking around in socks, I'm going to put shoes on them. I'd rather they have their own shoes that they like and maybe shoes that match their outfit. So just give you a heads up. I'd rather not have to do that. So some things that also to be aware of is that it is in focus, the image you're sending to me. Sometimes I get these images that are not. I need a full body. I need the upper part and the lower part together in one piece. So if you have it one view, one body, the background kind of easily identified is different from the person, we've got one that we can use. And we'll be using this in a future assignment, so you want to make sure you kind of get it so you can use it. Let's continue with this hotel file and add scenes. And scenes are basically saved views in a SketchUp model. If by any chance you've been using the color by axis mode in your models to keep you rectilinear, I'd like you to take that off now at this point so that all the lines are the same color, the same black color. Now I want to start making views similar to the ones in our handout that we had way back on Module 5. We had plan views and side views and views with perspective and views that were flat. Let's start with a view looking down from above. Here's the top view. And let's do zoom extents so we can see the whole model. Then we want to go to our scene manager here. Now, if you don't see scene manager here, go to Window, Default Tray, and make sure Scenes is selected. And add a scene. And then we have our first scene. So if I orbit over here and zoom out, all I gotta do is come up here and click on this. And lo and behold, I come back to the scene. To find out more information about it, I can click this little button right here. Like if I open this window up, it's blank, but if I click on this, I've got some options. And properties to save, how to name it and so forth, any description I want to give about the scene, and whether or not to include it in animation. So all these pieces are right here that I can use. I'm going to change this to the word plan. So we're going to call this scene plan. And when I click away from that box, look what happened up here. It's now called plan. Let's set one up now looking to the side. So if I click on this one right here, click, I'll be looking at the side view. Well, also now I need to go to my tags. So now let's make the east wall not visible and the ceiling visible. And let's make a scene. Let's name this one West. But I can see there's a little bit of a problem here. The furniture's in the way, isn't it? So I need to take this east furniture off, make it not visible. And so if I click on the plan view, I can look down. I click on the west view, I can, oh, there's a problem, isn't there? When I created this scene, I created it with this furniture here. So if I'm gonna take this off, I've got to update the scene. If I update the scene, now it'll ask me, what do you want to update? And in this case, we want to update all of them. So now I click on plan, great. Click on west, and that's what I want to see. And you know, it's kind of far away, so let's go maximize it. And again, I've got to update it. But in this way, I can also up here, right click, and I can also update it this way. So I can rename a scene up here, or I can update it, or relocate it and so forth. So plan, right? That fills up the whole screen. West, that fills up the whole screen. I'd like to look at an interior view of this space. So let's go in orbit, and this is the position camera tool. Click on it, and then click on this surface right here, just as you're walking into the space. Click. It becomes the look around tool, which is like an eyeball, and I can just use my left mouse button, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. So I'm picking up my mouse, moving it, click and drag, pick up my mouse, move it, click and drag to see that back window. Then let's go ahead and turn on the east furniture and the east wall. So we are now inside this space, and we can see everything perfectly well as if we're in the interior. I'd like to see more of the room though. As you can see, it's kind of a narrow field of view, which is okay for most work, but for this one, I'll have a little bit wider. So we go to camera, field of view, and I'm just going to type in 40 mm. Press enter. And now it's as if I changed the lens on my camera to a 40 millimeter lens. So I can now just use the scroll wheel to scroll out until I get a wall like this, and then I can scroll back in a little bit. And I can also use the pan tool. And we basically want to have, in the end, the TV is visible, the lampshade visible, the overhead, this lamp, and of course the window, and your checkerboard. Now, if you notice though, we've got these kind of angled areas here, like this is angled a little bit and so forth. There's actually a little bit of an angle back in there even, if you kind of look closely. Stylistically in renderings, we want the verticals to be straight up and down and not angled, like you would get in a camera setting. So if we go to camera, 2-point perspective, the verticals are straight up and down. And then I can just use the pan tool to just kind of position things in the view. And it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and add a scene. And let's call it north. So now we go from west to north. We go inside there. Zoom to this end here. And then I'll use my look around tool and click and drag, click and drag. It goes back to perspective mode. And we want to have kind of a view like this in this one, where we're seeing, let's scroll back a little bit. So we're seeing the corner of the Chase Lounge, your checkerboard, a chair, the TV, the desktop over here. And then let's go to camera, 2-point perspective, and again use your pan tool to kind of get it to see everything we need to see here. And now another way to create a new scene is you can just go up here, right click and add. And there's our scene here. Right click and rename. Let's call that south. So we're looking at the south wall now. Press enter. So north. So if I click on this space bar, click on north, and we're looking at this way. South. We're looking at this way. So use my scroll wheel to get closer, orbit a little bit. And use the look around tool. You might want to get kind of close to the bed here a little bit. So orbit, pan, and then scroll out just a little bit, scroll out just a little bit. So you want to see the two lights here, the mirrors, the bed. Again, camera, 2-point perspective. Pan around, it looks pretty good. And right click, add, right click, rename, bed, press enter. Again, you can do it over here, you can do it over here. We can also use these scenes to make flat orthographic views similar to the section and plan in the handout from Module 5. Let's click on the west again, and we can see our west view here. And this time, go to Camera, Parallel Projection. Notice all the perspective is gone now. Zoom extents here. And then what I like to do here is remove the furniture altogether. And you can see right now, some pieces were not put in the correct layers. So I select this, right click, Entity Info. Let's put that onto the Furniture tab. And this one the same way, the Furniture tag. So that's another way of checking things out sometimes. This looks pretty good. So I'm going to make a new scene. Either go up here or over here in the Scene Manager. I'm going to call it CAD West. C-A-D West, CAD. So West has perspective, CAD West is flat. One thing I want to make sure is that it is not included in animation. We'll be using these tabs to make animation of this space, but we're going to not have animation right here. I'm going to take it out of animation. I'm going to go update the scene here. So let's do a plan view now. Click on Plan. And I want like a CAD plan. Again, a flat 2D sort of image. So we go to Camera, Parallel Projection. Then I want to go to my tags, take out the furniture, and take out the east furniture as well. So we're well on the way to getting it done. But the difference is this is still way up higher. I need to cut through this. I need to cut down into it. So I need to create a section plane. And this is the section plane in SketchUp. So click on section plane, and for right now, just put it on top of the wall. Click. It'll give it a name, and just click on OK. These are different settings for that section plane. If I click on this one here, it will fill in the walls are completely cut through as black. I'm going to orbit slightly. And typically we want our section cutting through halfway through the room. So these sections move, I would put it halfway, something like this. We want to cut through part of the window, but not a flat portion, but the smooth part here. We want to go above this countertop. We want to go through the doors. We don't need the section plane visible. We do want it to be cut. This is the cut. If I don't have the cut, it becomes the whole thing. So we want the cut. And we have the cut filled in. Top view, zoom extents. Right click, add. And if ever this comes up, a good thing to do is save it as a new style. So we're basically having a certain look here that was different from before than the plan. And so it's asking, do you want to save this as a new style? Typically I say yes, and then at the end, we're going to purge unused, and then whatever gets purged unused is not necessary. So create scene. Right click up here, rename, CAD plan, and over here, take out of animation. Comparing the plan view with the CAD drawings, you can see there's a lot of similarities here. Of course, we didn't model the bathroom or the closets, but the walls we did model match very much the plan view. So if you click on plan, you can see we got a little bit of a problem. This line came in, right? And everything's kind of ghosty and shady inside it. So we'll click on the plan view, and what we'll do is we'll take off this section plane. And then you can right click here and update. This one will just update the selected style, because if you do that, everything that's in this style should remove that section plane. Before we need a new one, because we're doing something very different, the 2D view, update scene. Let's check on that. Go to west, north. So all of these now, because they were all done in the same style, same view, and we've got a CAD plan. Looks good. Let's return to that CAD West scene. And this one sort of looks like the section cut in our drawings. We did get rid of the perspective, but it has to go one step further, I think. We need to add that section plane because we need to go through the wall. Right now, we're not going through the window. We're not going through the right portion here either. So if I orbit slightly, and like before, click on the section and make sure it's on this side now. Click. Click OK. And now I can select this. This is the active cut. By selecting it, it's the active cut. You can tell the difference between the two cuts. This is not active. This is active. This is cutting through something. Make sure that is section filled. And if you click here, M for move, and come across, and come like halfway through the doorway area here. Something like that. And then go back to the right view here, and let's take off the section and zoom extents. And that really looks a lot like the CAD drawing now. Right click up here and update. And again, if I ask you for a new scene style, say yes. So now we click on West. There's a West view, CAD West. And if we take a look at the CAD drawing, you can see right away it's very similar. The difference between these two is that we've cut through the window, where this one's not showing a cut through the window. But if we make this as if there was a solid wall, you can see that the overall shape is very much the same. So click on the plan view to kind of look down, but then let's go and make it isometric view kind of, and then kind of angle it a little bit like this. So it's almost like you're looking down into the space in three-dimensional view. Then go and zoom extents. So we want to see kind of this kind of a view here. Maybe we won't see too much of the furniture over here, but we can see how the bed and the chase lounge and the checkerboard, all this is kind of going together. And then let's go ahead and add a scene. And we're going to call it ISO. So now we've got all our scenes here laid out, and we want to include that in animation. So as we click around the different kind of views, we can see the different angles of the space and be able to talk to the client and move around from point to point of the model real quickly. Let's click on the North Scene tab. Let's say we want to show a watermark on here. A watermark is like something that kind of goes over the picture. And we sometimes do this as a firm. It'll be their firm name. Sometimes it's a client's name that goes into this. So that when it gets printed, it'll have the client's name on it automatically. Or when you show the client a file and walk through the SketchUp model, they can see their own logos. So the first thing I want to do is create a new scene. So right click here, add, and go to right click here and say rename. I'm going to call it North with watermark. Press enter. So we have North and we have North with watermark. Right now they look the same. Click over here and take off include an animation. So this will be there. By the way, visually you can see the things that are not in animation have these parentheses around them. That's something the computer does automatically. I did not type in any parentheses, so just be aware of that. Watermark is a style. So we go over here, make sure that North with watermark is selected, and we open up styles. And styles is the way that we see the model. And we're going to get more into that in an upcoming session, but right now we're going to touch base on just adding a watermark since we're already in the hotel at this point. I can also click the home button and click here, and that's going to be the active style. I know it's the active because it's kind of boxed around it. Go to edit, and these are the different kind of scenes. We've done this one before, right, where we changed the lines. This one is on the planes. This is the background, and here's our watermark. So let's click on this one right here. Again, we'll look at these other ones later. Let's click on this one right here. And I'm going to click the plus that says I want to add a watermark. Click on the plus sign. And then in our lectures folder, module 8 is a hotel logo. Click on open. And it fills up the whole screen right away. It could be in the overlay or the background. In the background, you can see it's way back there. But we want in the overlay so it stands in front of the view here. Click on next. And then we can decide if it should be a strong or maybe faded. Maybe fade it out a little bit. In this case, we're going to want it strong. Next. Then we'll just fit the screen or tiled across the screen, so it's a whole bunch of them all over the place, or position on the screen, and that's what we're going to want, position towards the top. And then we're just going to make this a little bit bigger. Something like that. Something that is visible, but it's not overpowering. And we could have put it in any position depending on what the logo looks like. I think this looks pretty good right here. Click on Finish. And then let's right click up here and update, because now we have a watermark. And we're going to save it as a new style. We don't want to mess with the existing style. So if we click on North, there is no watermark. Click on North with watermark, there is. But if I go to, let's say, South, the watermark also is going to disappear because that does not have a watermark. Again, we could have had it show up on every single one of these, but I just want you to get an understanding how watermarks work. So we'll have North with watermark, and let's make sure that with our scenes that it is not included for this animation we're making next. So for animation, we want our scenes in a certain order so that they flow well one from the other and create a smooth animation. The order they're set up in does not flow well together. And we can change that order by clicking on these buttons here, or by right-clicking over these and moving left and moving right. So either one of these up here, over here, will move these scenes around. So from the plan view, I think I want the north view, just the regular north view. So scroll down here to north view and hit the up arrow key. And as I hit it here, it's also moving up in here. So we have plan view, north view. Then I'm going to want the bed view next. Again, I'd move it up. Then I'm going to want the south view. So let's do it here. Click here. I'm going to right click, move left, move left, move left, move left, left. And then the west view. And I think the ISO, we're going to take that out of animation. So I'll do that. Update this scene. So now we know that we're not going to have this. So in these back here, it doesn't matter which order they have because they're not going to be in animation. So let's take a look at it. Let's put it on plan and let's go to View, Animation, and let's play it. Let's see what it's going to look like. It'll take a little bit to load. Okay, so we'll go to here. So far, so good. So as it's going back, it's going to cycle back around. So at this point, I can stop this animation. I can see that there's a problem. Like from this scene, bed scene, to south scene, it seems like we're going through the wall. So let's go back to bed scene. And if I click on south scene, you can see what's happening. It's going through that wall. And so what I'll do is I will create an intermediate scene. And I think it has to do with the way that the bed is. And then the scene, I'm going to do camera 2-point perspective and add. So now from bed to south will be scene 10. It'll be smoother. So I'm going to leave that as scene 10 because it's really for animation purposes so that it's smooth. We don't want it to go through a wall. Click on the plan view again. And we go to View, Animation, Play. And let's see how this thing plays out now. Okay, looking good. So far, so good. Going to this view, right? And then coming back out to the south. Looks great. The west is as I expected it. It's going to be a cut view, so it's going to be that. There's going to be a little bit of jiggle to that. And this is looking great. Click the stop button. Click on plan view again to bring us back to the beginning. Let's go to File, Export, Animation. And we can put it into our SketchUp Assignments folder, Module 8. We can just leave it the name. It's an MP4 file. At this point, we can have some options. Let's take a look at those real quick. Most of the time, I leave these alone. I don't change them too much. We will it's kind of nice to start back to looping scene, to loop to starting scene again. In a future video, we'll change that out a little bit and we'll explain why that's around. For our purposes, this could be enough, but if you're going to do in a large format up on a screen somewhere, you might want to go higher. But for the homework assignments and so forth, so it doesn't get to be too big, this will be a good size. Click OK. That looks good. Options look good. Click Export. And it'll take its time. I'm speeding the video now. Once it goes away, it's done. So let's go ahead and minimize this and go to our SketchUp folder where we're saving our files. Go to our assignments folder and module 8 where we saved the stuff. We saved the video. Here it is. Double click on it and it should open up in Video Player and you can see your video. And double check and make sure that it did come out okay. And if it did, go ahead and upload to Talon. We can see if it went through all the steps. That's a clean switch from that one view to the south view. I think that was a good idea to do that. And that looks fine. And then that's how expected to be. So this would be good. You would go ahead and upload this video file to Talon. If for some reason you notice some odd things, go back to the model and add scenes perhaps to move things along better, or make sure the visibility is right. Maybe sometimes that happens. But once you're satisfied with it, save and export it out, upload the correct file. Another assignment, the Rosca's handout. A lot of times clients want to see different options, and using scenes is a great way to show two different options without having two different models and going back between one model and the next. There's a PDF in the module folder. Follow the steps and it'll show you how to create two different scenes. Now, one thing they do in the PDF is they make you copy the room and move furniture around and copy the room back, the furniture back. Just follow the steps in the PDF. In the end, you will have only one room, two scenes, and the furniture shown in two different ways, and the pictures on the walls shown in two different ways. More videos to watch. Again, we're going to another piece here. We're going to talk about the extension warehouse next time. And we've talked a little bit about section planes today, so that's why there's there, and basic animation. So it gives you a little bit more information on how to use these to your advantage. And the last slide, the assignment recap. So we have all these videos to watch, and we have these assignments to upload to Talon.